Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome to Around the Kitchen Table, a space for honest conversations, stories from the heart, and gentle reminders that we're all walking each other home. I'm Laura Island, mother, creative, soul-led CEO of Sacred Sister CIC, and the woman behind Wise Sacred Woman. I'm a witch with ADHD, and this podcast is where we gather to share the real, raw, and radiant parts of life. Each week, we'll explore what it means to live in rhythm with ourselves, with nature, and with one another. We'll talk about womanhood, sisterhood, creativity, leadership, spirituality, and the messy magic of being a human. So pour yourself a cuppa, get comfy, and let's meet here around the kitchen table, where stories are medicine and every voice belongs. Hey sisters, welcome back to Around the Kitchen Table. The kettle's on, the candles are lit, and there's that unmistakable magic in the air. It's Friday, the end of October, and I can feel the veil growing thinner. So this week we're gathering on one of my favourite conversations of the year, and that's the real Halloween, the ancient festival of Samhain. You know, before we dressed up as witches with pointy hats and warts on our noses, knocking on doors for sweeties, which of course we all still love, and that's okay, by the way. There was a much deeper, more sacred story underneath it all. So pour yourself a cuppa, maybe light a candle, and let's settle in, because it must be the season of the witch. And this witch has something to say. So good morning. I'm laughing because I'm literally sat here with my witchy brew of lemon and ginger and honey. I'm looking at myself because I've got mascara still, yesterday's mascara probably still kind of hovering because I fell asleep last night, probably at about 9 o'clock because I didn't even know when I went to bed. I'm still in my pajamas. It's kind of just coming up on 8 o'clock, but I've been up since 5:44. 5:44. I have so much kind of in my brain, in my head, not in a bad way, in a really like positive, like, you know, when other people are kind of slowing down in this season for me is like go time. It's like my creative juices start to flow with the power of the fact that everything else starts to lessen. So I'm not out in festival fields, I'm not out in the world so much. I'm home, and that means that, you know, and in our new home, and that means that, you know, I have this chance for those things to stir because I get the chance to listen. So I'm literally jumping on because I'm like, oh my God, when am I going to record today's podcast? I was like, just do it now. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How many of you actually sit and watch me anyway? No, I wouldn't have thought so. I hope not. Most of you will just listen in the background. And so as long as my voice is clear and direct, which it probably isn't this time of the day, I haven't even got my microphone plugged in because it's upstairs, and I'm like, came down, let the dogs out for a wee, fed the dogs, did all the things that you do in the morning right before you can actually get on with your day. And then I'll be ready for my first client at 9 o'clock. Anyway, let's talk about the real Halloween. I loved it last night. I've got a friend staying at the moment, and her and Gracie just carved pumpkins and, you know, did the things. And we ended up having a conversation about Gracie's dad, my first husband, who died when she was 5. And Gracie's clearly following in her mother's witchy footsteps. In fact, I heard her call herself a witch the other day, which was very, very sweet. She was just like, I'm a witch like you, Mum. I was like, and that's partly because her psychic abilities are diving deep right now as she kind of comes into her teen years. It's no longer a kind of scary fear thing. It's like, wow, this is a bit of a magic power. Anyway, and that's really showing itself right now in the portal window that we're in, where she has deeper connection with her dad. So, you know, Samhain is not just kind of this moment. It's like, it's this portal window from October the 31st and really like the days before, through to November the 2nd. And it echoes across cultures, All Hallows Eve, All Saints' Day, the Day of the Dead. And our ancestors believed that during this time, the veil between the worlds thinned and that our loved ones and our ancestors could walk beside us once more. It's also the time where, it's the final harvest. It's the turning from the autumn into winter. It's the moment in the wheel where we pause between kind of life and death, light and dark, the seen and unseen. And autumn's felt really late this year. Like all of the leaves have turned or starting to turn, but there's still so much green. I'm looking out my window right now. Still so much green. I did clear up 8 wheelbarrows of leaves from the back garden the other day. But yeah, we're definitely not in winter season yet. But that is the time that we are moving into towards the darker nights, the kind of drawing in. But our ancestors, they didn't fear it. They didn't feel like, oh, it's doom and gloom. They honoured it. They didn't have to go to work in the dark and come home in the dark like we do. They didn't, find themselves doom scrolling social media or or binge watching crap TV. I mean, don't get me wrong, we binge watched Trigger Point the other day, season 3. If you haven't done it, you should. and of course, Maths, Married at First Sight. It's going to be over soon. What are we going to do? Oh no. Anyway, oh, excuse me. They took some comfort in this time. They gathered around the hearth, they shared food, they told stories, and they gave thanks for what had been. And there's something really comforting about that, isn't there? Like the idea that this season of darkness was never about fear, it was about remembrance. So, how can we, in this kind of modern age, look back to that time of our ancestors and understand what it was really meant to honour? I'm going to talk about the season of the witch. It must be the season of the witch. I'm too croaky this morning to sing well. I don't sing well anyway, but because this is when women have always gathered. When we slow down, when we light candles, when we listen instead of rush. And the word witch originally meant wise woman. She was the healer, the herbalist, the one who understood the rhythm of the land, the midwife. She brewed medicines, whispered prayers, and tended to birth and death alike. And somewhere in each of us, that wisdom still lives. Obviously, we know that many witches were persecuted because of it. Many women were persecuted because of it. And that still stops us from really showing up in many, many ways. But, when you feel drawn to journaling, to ritual, to sitting under a full moon or walking among the fallen leaves, it's not random. It's remembrance. Something deep in your bones remembers how to live in rhythm with the earth. And maybe that's why this time of year feels so alive for so many of us, because the witch in us knows that this is her season. So let me ask you something. Are you a witch too? Not the broomstick kind, but the kind who listens, the kind who feels the energy shift in a room, the kind who senses the cycles of her own body and the turning of the seasons. You might be a witch if you feel the weather as emotion, or you light candles for ritual and comfort, not just to look pretty and ambient. You might know when something is ready to end and you don't fight it. You might whisper thank you to the trees without needing a reason, because being a witch isn't about spells or symbols. Well, kind of actually it is. There is a big part of it being about spells or symbols, but these days we call it manifestation and visualization. But why don't we call it what it is? Maybe we don't know that that's what it is, but when you visualize something in your life, you are calling it in in ritual. When you are manifesting, you are creating a spell that amplifies what you are calling in. Sound familiar if you are in the spiritual realms of visualization and manifestation? But we're all still too scared to say, hey, I'm a witch. So we get caught up in the spiritual kind of reality of that. And, at its heart, it's really about remembering connection to the earth, connection to our innate intuition that lives inside all of us, and connection to the unseen threads that weave us all together. And that's why this time is so special, because Samhain really reminds us that everything is connected, even across lifetimes. So how do we celebrate it now? In our homes, in our communities, in our everyday lives. You don't need a coven or a cauldron, though if you've got one, I fully support that choice. What does a coven really mean? Do you have a group of friends that you hang out with? Do you have a group of friends that you connect more deeply with? Do you have a sisterhood? If you don't, I have one for you. Do we have places where we feel safe to kind of connect? That's a coven. Do you have a cauldron? Do you have a special pot? I have a special pot. I'm gonna cook soup in it today. You know, and I create my ceremonial cacao, and I do those things. It's my cauldron, it's my pot. But really, you just need presence and intention, and maybe a bloody good cup of tea. Brew. We make a good brew because we're all witches. So here are a few ways that you might honour the thinning of the veil this weekend. And if you've got kids, go out, do the thing that we do for Halloween, go dress up, go get your pumpkins out, go get the sweets from the neighbours, go do all those things, because whatever way we walk it, it's an open door to say, this is a special moment. This is a special time. But don't shy away from doing the other things, especially if death and dying haven't been a part of your child's life. We really fear opening the door to conversations about death and dying. I had to have them at a very young age with my children. The goldfish died, the rabbit died, it was real. And then their dad died, and my business partner died. It was real. And I took against the better judgment or the worst judgment of some people that were like, no, you can't do that. I took my kids to see their dad in the chapel of rest, and Gracie was amazing. She stood there with him, and she was 5. She grabbed a chair, pulled it up alongside his coffin, and used his coffin to haul herself up. I was thinking, oh my God, just gonna pull him over. And I said to her, Daddy just looks really sleepy, like he's sleeping, darling. And she went, no, Mummy, he's not breathing. He's clearly dead. And that was a moment. Andrew's dad was just like, no way, she just doesn't get it. And I was like, no, she really gets it. She really gets it. And she's never been disconnected from her dad. So it doesn't, in fact, her dad wasn't very present in her life. So she has a bigger connection with him now than she had when he was earthside. And that might freak some people out, but actually it's real. It's real. So create an ancestor altar. Bring out the photos of your loved ones that are passed. Share the connections to their ancestry if you are talking about this time with your children. Put a candle on, light the candle, bring nature in, something that reminds you of your roots, and speak their names out loud. Talk about those beautiful souls. Whatever your journey was with them, whether it was good or bad, whether it was tough or easy, whether it was loving, kind, or really hurtful, our ancestors were doing their best, even if it was shit. So we have an honor of the fact that without them, we wouldn't be here. So bring them in and bring them in close. Host a meal of remembrance, invite friends or family, share stories, and leave a place at the table for those that are no longer here. fire rituals of release, like write down the things that you're ready to release. Burn it, bury it, or offer it to the wind, like whatever it is, just get it outside of you. Be really clear that you're saying, I'm not holding this anymore. I am clearing the decks. I liken it to kind of having my broomstick, sweeping away the leaves and leaving the space clear for the new to come in. We normally do that at kind of New Year, right? We have the turning of the wheel, New Year rituals. This is a Celtic New Year. This is a time to do that. So don't wait. Start clearing the decks now. Take yourself off for a walk in nature. There is no clearer way to see death and dying than going out in nature right now, where they live alongside each other, decay, change, death, and the knowing that underneath the surface, the magic is happening, And all of those leaves that are falling are, going to decay into the ground to feed the new life. That is the magic of this season. So get outside. Yeah, it might be a bit chilly. Wrap up warm. Go for a walk. Go for a good stomp. And light a candle at dusk. It's getting darker earlier. So let it burn as a beacon. We have real fires in our house. And right now, the heating doesn't come on till about 6 o'clock at night. And it's getting chilly around 4, right? So the fire's going on every night. And I love that. Like when we moved here, it was like straight away, like, does it have a fire? If it doesn't have a fire, what are we going to do? Because it's become a ritual in our house. Like our old house didn't really have very good heating, so we had to light the fires. This one has 2 huge log burners, one in the hallway, which is great. Like heats the whole house. Why don't we do that anymore? Why don't we have fireplaces? It's crazy. It's modern. Let's have heating and everything that brings with it. Anyway, let me not digress onto that one. But, remember these rituals. They're not about perfection. They're about presence. They're about you saying, I'm here. I've recognized this time and I am leaning in. So let's talk about the power of the dark. Samhain is an invitation to rest your roots, to stop striving and to start listening. The dark, as I said, is not something to fear. It's really that womb of creation. That's why for me, it's like suddenly the outside world is settled just a little bit. I don't have to be out in the world. It's not summer. I don't have to be running around. And I know that I've created a life that's different to most of you. And if you have to work a 9-to-5 job, it's very different. But, how can you put off doing the things that you maybe do in an evening so that actually you could just have a Saturday morning cleaning, and when you come home at night, you eat some good food and you read a book. You lean in to the dark. You go to bed earlier because that's what's being called of us. That's why our ancestors, had the energy to get through the summer, and when they survived on 5 hours sleep a night because they were up tending the land from dawn till dusk, because they rested in the winter. They didn't keep going till 11 o'clock every night and hope that we were gonna, have enough energy to go. They kind of stored it in the winter so that they were able to, lean into the summer. So if you've been tired or tender or emotional this week, it's okay. You're not alone. You're simply syncing with the season. It's what we're supposed to do. And this is your permission slip to slow down, to feel it all, to honour the endings, and to trust that what's coming next is already stirring in the soil beneath you. Because the witch, the wise woman, she's not out there somewhere. She's in you. She's in me. And this is her time. This is her season. So a bit of a short one today. But before we close today's circle at the kitchen table, take a breath with me. Imagine you're lighting a candle. And you whisper, I release what has been. I honour what remains. And I welcome what is to come. Because that, my sister, is the heart of Samhain. A moment to remember that death and life are part of the same beautiful dance. So thank you for sitting with me around the kitchen table today. If this conversation stirred something in you, if it reminded you of your own magic, take a moment to follow or subscribe and share this episode with a sister who's remembering too. And you'll find the full Sow-in blog, the Healing the Sister Wound replays, which, by the way, is still free for the next 48 hours. So that container is open until Sunday night. On Sunday night, it will become a paid-for course. And you can... It will always be free inside the sanctuary. Let me just say that. So in our sanctuary, it will be free, and it will be a paid course on our website. But you can still jump in for free right now to Healing the Sister Wound, and you'll get all of those replays in your inbox or on our Facebook group, and you can keep them forever. And yeah, I'm excited about that. These 3 days have been so powerful. So powerful, such a deep reminder of where the wound shows up, how it shows up. Actually, that the wound is much earlier than we think. How it affects us in everyday life, how it affects our relationships, how it affects us as women with each other, how it affects our families, our workplaces, how we show up or don't show up. And today we're going to lean into what is it to really reclaim those parts of ourselves and strive forward in a new way. It's been exciting, and the women that are already there are having such big breakthroughs. So I really want you to come and join us. You will see at the table is always waiting. So until next time, keep your candle lit, keep your heart open, and remember, the witch has always been you. Take care. Laura out.